Good afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday, June 26, 2022, and the wife kid's been out of town this weekend, so I've got some great work done to the car. I have mounted all four air conditioning vents in the dash, as well as I've almost finished mounting up the Vintage Air AC controller in the dash, and I've gotten a lot done to it this weekend. And as usual, I've kind of learned some things to do and things to watch out for, and so I just wanted to share those with you guys. If we have a look here at the car, you'll notice that I've done an AC vent there, and then there's two more over on that end. So of course, naturally, there's two vents, one for each person. The vents that I went with from Vintage Air are their, zoom in a little bit there, you can kind of see these are their CNC machined aluminum ones that are powder coated. They come in plastic ones you can get as well that cost a little bit less money, but I wanted to go with the really nice CNC machined aluminum vents, and they look fantastic. I'm really happy with them. The first thing that I realized about these vents is, let me tell you, the hole that you cut into your dash right here has got to be incredibly precise. I don't know, incredibly, but it's got to be precise. What I'm getting at is that the outside lip of these things do not cover a lot. And so if you were to accidentally cut that hole 1/8 of an inch too tall or too wide, you would then have a hole exposed here on the side, and the vent would not cover that hole. And that's because the lip of that vent just doesn't hang off very far. It's not much to work with. So I ultimately decided that the best thing to do to make sure that I didn't run off and cut all of those holes in my dash and screw it up was to make a template. I used my CNC cutter to make a template, but realistically, you could make a template, with just standard air tools or whatever. You don't have to have a CNC cutter. I used this thing and I put it up to my dash. I stole 4 of the wife's refrigerator magnets and basically used it to hold this template up against the dash. And after I eyeballed it for a good 5 minutes, making sure that I had it exactly where I wanted it, at that time I would use a grease marker and just trace out the inside of that thing so that when I cut it out, I was absolutely positive it was going to be the size I needed. I definitely recommend making a template if you are going to do a job like this. You'll also notice in the car, I've gotten rid of both the cigarette lighter and the ignition. This car is going to be running an RFID key, if you will. Same thing that's in all the new cars nowadays, where you don't actually insert a key into the dash. You just leave it in your pocket, hop in, it recognizes that the thing's only a foot or two away, and it allows the car to start. So because of that, I went ahead and did away with the ignition switch that was here. And I wanted to do that because by doing so, you'll notice I have spaced the vents very evenly out across the dash, so it's a very congruent look. I want to point out that if you are going to do this and mount these things in your dash, pay very close attention to what's on the back side of the dash, and I'll show you what I mean and why I say that. So let's come around here and look at the dash from the back side. You'll notice that all underneath here, you've got things like over here, you've got a lip on the side of the sheet metal there. Here, you've got a brace that gets in the way. So you've got to pay attention, because you've got this plastic mount that goes here on the back where the tube basically hooks up to it. So you want to make sure that there's no braces, no folded over seams or anything of that nature that are right behind where you're fixing to put your louver, because if you don't do that, then the piece on the back side is not going to sit flush, or if there's something in the way, you're not going to be able to connect the tube to it. So that's just something that I recommend being careful about, that I wanted to share with everybody in case somebody else is doing a job similar to this. The last thing that we'll talk about here is I have decided, you'll notice that I have cut an 1/8 inch thick piece of aluminum here. I did that again with the CNC cutter. That thing has just changed the game for me. It's made by Langmuir Systems. It's like $4,300 for a CNC cutter, and you can't beat it for that kind of money. So anyways, I drew out this 1/8 inch plate here that's going to hold my controller. At the end of the day, I'm going to have 4 bolts, one in each corner, and then I'm going to weld in something on the back side so that it has something to screw into. A lot of folks out there are making the determination temptation when they're building these cars to go ahead and just wall off that entire panel right there and just put sheet metal across it, weld it, and so forth. And, you know, in my opinion, the problem with that is if you do that and later you decide you want to change something, you want to add in another toggle switch, or, you know, you want to move that controller to the side and maybe put a little gauge next to it or something like that, all of a sudden you're now looking at doing major fabricating inside the car with the interior in the car. And so because of that, I'm ultimately going to do a removable aluminum plate here and a removable aluminum plate here. That way, if I decide I want to change something later, I want to add in another toggle switch or whatever, all I've got to do is remake that plate. I'm not all of a sudden tearing the entire interior out of the car so that I can weld inside the car. So that's why I'm doing that. It's coming along really, really good. It's amazing how much work you can get done when there are no wife and kids home for the weekend. They're gone up north and I am getting stuff done in the shop. It's been awesome. Hope you guys are learning from my mistakes. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a great weekend. Take care.